Hello and welcome to Chester Zoo and welcome to the heart of Africa, home to 57 incredible animal species, including 15,000 locusts.
In today's live lesson, we're going to be learning all about climate change.
And it's going to be jam-packed from start to finish.
Stick with us to find out more.
Right, should we drive around and see the zebras?
Yeah, let's go do it.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You've got
That's good. Hi, I'm Ed from Chester Zoo.
And I'm Billy, and we are currently outside the brand new savannah habitat, home to ostrich, rowan antelope, the zebras, and, as they're coming down now, the northern giraffes.
Coming up in today's live lesson, we'll be
Shining a spotlight on climate change.
talking to zookeeper Holly.
And we'll be introducing you to an unusual and elusive African animal.
But before we get started, just a quick bit on housekeeping. We would love to see your photos from today, so please do share those with us. When sharing them, we'd love to make sure that you do have the right permissions to do that. So we need it to be a parent, a guardian, or a teacher, and that you have all the correct permissions in place. We've also got a resource pack for you to download.
We're celebrating Earth Day. But what is Earth Day? Well, we celebrate it every year on the 22nd of April, and this year marks its 55th anniversary.
It's a chance to learn all about our planet and what we can do to help.
And it's a reminder for each and every one of us to take action and look after our planet.
Today's live lesson is all about climate change.
But what is climate change? Take a minute in your classrooms to discuss. Okay then, how did you all do? Well, I've briefly swapped the savannah for a lab coat, and I'm joined here by Zoo Ranger Fraser to talk about climate change.
Hello.
So, first things first, hello. Could you tell me the difference between weather and climate?
Ooh, yeah, so that is a very good question. So weather is the day-to-day of the weather around the planet Earth. So here in the UK, we get very temperate weather, we get wet winters, wet summers. We don't tend to get lots of extremes, but that weather can change from the morning to the afternoon, and it's just what we see day to day, hour to hour. Climate, on the other hand, that is much longer term. So the climate is the weather, but over a really long period of time, typically recorded over 30 years or more.
Wow. And so could you tell me what climate change actually means?
Oh, yes. So climate change is how those patterns change over time. And then climate change itself is more about the planet becoming a bit warmer, how those patterns affect everything in the world. And it can cause a lot more extreme weather around the world.
And I think this is going to be a very good time for a demonstration to show how this might work.
Absolutely. Yeah, perfect. So I have an experiment here for us.
I'm all for it. I'm ready.
Brilliant. Well, just before we do, climate change is caused by greenhouse gases. Around the planet, they are trapping heat, making the planet much, much, much warmer, but we can get the experiment on the go and I can show you every chaff.
Safety goggles first. Here we go. It's getting serious.
So, here we have the world, our lovely globe spinning around. Here we have the continent of Africa, and you can see the planet looking quite happy, looking quite normal. The problem is it can get quite warm. So if I pop a little bit of heat on there you can go.
Wow.
So you can see those yellow areas. That is where the planet is warming up. That is where the effects of climate change can begin. But too bad, that's not too bad. You can see that it's actually cooling down quite quickly. It's
Sahara has cooled down again.
Fantastic. There you go. So the planet going back to normal. The problem with climate change then is that it causes more of that heat to stay. The greenhouse gases trap the heat around the planet, and we can show this by that heat staying for a little bit longer. So I have my trusty hairdryer here to really warm it up for us.
Doesn't leave the house without it.
Always prepared.
Whoa.
So here we go, getting much, much, much warmer. You can see some of the countries in there now.
Yep.
It's already beginning to cool, but if I pop it inside this bag right here, you'll see that it is not going great.
It's not. It's staying nice and warm, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is just staying warm. It's staying yellow. It is slowly returning a little bit, but it's taking much, much, much longer than it did beforehand. So this bag is representing those greenhouse gases, keeping it warm around the planet.
That's amazing. So final question for you then, Fraser. I'm going to take my goggles off now because I think it's safe to do so.
I'll join you. Thank you very much.
What is causing this all to happen?
Also, a mix of different things. Sadly, it is caused mostly by human activity all over the entire world. So lots of different things that humans do, not doing anything wrong, not meaning to cause any issues, but it can be a myriad of reasons. So one of the largest reasons is actually our energy use. So that can be people leaving the lights on, it can be leaving computers running, it can be server farms in Iceland accepting a load of emails, all kinds of stuff. All of that energy use all adds up. But it can also be our use of petrol, people taking long flights around the world, driving a lot. It can also even be down to people's diet. So what you eat, having a meat-heavy diet, can contribute to climate change.
Thank you very much, Fraser. And we'll be talking about all the things you can do to help later today. But before I let Fraser go, he has one more task to do, and he needs to spin our pledge wheel. Here we go, very game show-esque. Right, I'm going to put this on the desk. Fraser, will you do me the honour of spinning the wheel, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so, so much.
Here we go. Big moment.
What have we got?
Well, come have a look. One, very important.
Switch off devices at the plug.
And you can do it now.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's get this hairdryer turned off. There we go. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for coming in. Right, so we've got a few true or false questions to ask you about the impacts of climate change. And the big question is, are you up for the challenge?
True or false? As temperatures rise, ice at the North and South Pole melts, causing sea levels to rise. The answer is true. Land near the oceans may end up underwater one day.
True or false? Up to 3.6 billion people live in areas that are highly likely to feel the impacts of climate change. This is true. Half of the world's population will feel some effect of climate change.
Warmer temperatures can help crops grow better everywhere. The answer is false. Warmer temperatures mean crops like maize may produce up to 90% less food.
True or false? Climate change can cause a shortage of clean water in some areas. This again is true. An increase in heat will cause droughts in many areas.
True or false? Climate change only affects animals, not plants. The answer is false. More CO2 in the atmosphere means less nutrients and water in the soil, which help plants grow, as well as droughts and flooding. How did you get on? Some of those questions were quite tricky, weren't they? So, here at Chester Zoo, we've got over 26,000 animals, many of which are affected by climate change, including the giraffe. Earlier on, Billy went to speak to one of our keepers to find out more.
So we are now joined by keeper Holly, and we're going to find out more about these northern giraffes. So Holly, it looks like most of the gang are out. Who do we have behind us?
So we have Dalma, Millie, Orla, Kanzi, Tula, Meru, Edie and Stanley, which is 8 in total. I hope I've counted that right.
That's a lot of giraffes.
Yeah.
And you're probably not meant to have a favourite, but do you have a favourite giraffe?
Yes, definitely. I'd say Dalma is my favourite. She is the oldest. She's 18 years old. And then we have our youngest, which is our lovely lady Edie, and she had her birthday in March.
Brilliant. So giraffes, very impressive. One of the most iconic animals probably here at Chester Zoo. But why do they have such a long neck?
For multiple purposes. Obviously, they have a height advantage, literally looking for predators, especially in the wild, such as our leopards, our lions as well, even down to crocodiles as well, if ever they need to go down to the water's edge. But they also use it for, as they are demonstrating right now, they will use it because they are known to be browsers. Browsers meaning that they will eat basically branches and leaves and use their teeth to strip up all the bark as well. In the wild, they'll eat more spiky browse, which will be the acacia, which tend to be the majority of their diet as well. And they would almost use that, kind of a bit gross, but they will have their very thick saliva as well to coat it as well, so they don't get spiked as well.
That's a handy thing to have.
Very handy.
Speaking of other handy things, what other amazing adaptations do giraffes have?
Multiple things really. So they have their very iconic long tongue, which tends to be about 45 to 50 centimetres, to leaves that are basically a little bit out of reach, and it kind of tends to be in onto colours depending on the individual. So they would be either black, purple or blue. Kind of helps with them not getting sunburnt as well, because if you have a pink tongue you don't want to get sunburnt, but obviously having the darker colour, it will actually be more helpful, so they reflects the sun basically, and with their very thick tongues they don't actually feel the pain of any spiky brows also.
That is another very handy trait to have if you're a giraffe eating thorns all the time.
Yeah.
So what are some of the problems that Dalma and Stanley's wild cousins are facing out in the wild?
So they have quite a few threats. So there tends to be about 3,000 left in the wild, makes them critically endangered. But also they have quite a few threats. So obviously humans are the biggest threats. So cause of climate change, also deforestation. You also have human-animal conflict. So we will get into their areas, and more so they will get into our areas as well. There is also the habitat loss from the deforestation, and then obviously they can't get enough feed supply as well, which then causes them all to be branched off from each other, something called habitat fragmentation. So you will find smaller populations in smaller areas as well, which is quite a big challenge for our giraffes.
Yeah, so they're unable to find more giraffes, which means the population is slowly going to get smaller and smaller.
Exactly, yes.
So then what are the team here at Chester Zoo doing to help the gang's wild cousins out in Africa?
So Chester Zoo work with the Giraffe Conservation Foundation annually, as well with the Ugandan wildlife authorities. They actually have a campaign as known as Silent Extinction. So they found that actually they're not being campaigned enough. They're probably the sole charity or organisation that works with giraffes to make sure that their populations are increasing. We work with them obviously annually to do something known as translocation. So that basically means if there's no animals in that area, we would then transport animals that have been thriving in another over into that new area, because that's where they've originally been extinct. So it's reintroducing them into that area again.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. But before I let you get back to work, we have one more thing we need to do. We need to spin our wheel, and I need you to make a pledge to fight climate change. So could you do me the honours of spinning the wheel?
Here we go.
It's a very big spin. Right, what's it going to land on? And when it's there, if you can read it out for me.
So you use public transport rather than drive.
Happy days. Right, you're going to start walking to work?
Oh, always. Well, we always do it, giraffe keepers, always walking.
Brilliant. Well, no change for you then. So, thank you so much for your time, Holly. And speaking of monitoring giraffes, we have a task for you at home. Can you count the number of giraffes in this clip?
That last one was really difficult. The scientists and conservationists who work at Chester Zoo really are amazing.
Now, you might be wondering who this is. This is Sanyu, and can anyone tell us what animal this is?
They're a secretive animal who lives in Africa.
They have this amazing collection of scales, which is made out of the same material as your fingernails and your hair, called keratin. They have this impressive long tongue, which you use to lick Ed's hands. Oh, no, just sticking our tongue out. And they have these big claws, which they use to dig through ant nests.
Billy caught up with Stuart, our field programmes coordinator for Africa, to find out more.
Well, I come over to the other side of the heart of Africa to meet one of Chester Zoo's field scientists. Nice to meet you, Stu. How's things?
Very good, thank you.
Happy days. Now, we just met an unusual animal called Sanyu. Can you tell me what she is, please?
Yes, Sanyu is a giant pangolin. Giant pangolins are the biggest of all pangolins. They're a very strange and not very well-known species or group of animals. And they live on the giant pangolin who lives in Africa.
Wow, very special animal
Yes.
indeed. Yeah. So could you tell me a little bit about your role here at Chester Zoo?
Yes, so I am the regional field programme manager for Africa. That means that I oversee and run all Chester Zoo's work with animals in the wild in Africa.
Could you tell me a little bit more about one of the projects that you work on out in Africa?
Yeah, so I'll tell you about the Giant Pangolin Project. So we work in Uganda with Uganda Wildlife Authority on quite a large project to learn more about the giant pangolin. We know very, very little about them. They're very rare, they're nocturnal, very mysterious species, and we can only really study them with camera traps. And what we're trying to find out is very basic things about how they live, where they live, what kind of habitats they like, what kind of foods that they eat, how they interact with each other. Very basic questions that will help us learn how to save them better. So pangolins are in quite a lot of trouble. They are one of the world's most trafficked animals, mostly for the trade in their scales. So they're covered in these very thick scales. They're made out of the same thing as your fingernails or as rhino horn. And people in some countries think that it is good for medicine, but you might as well bite your fingernails. It's not actually that useful at all. So because of that, they're poached a lot, they're hunted a lot, they're traded a lot, and we're just trying to find out where the main populations are and what the best approaches are to save them for generations to come.
Very, very special animals. Could you tell me a little bit more about some of their adaptations that they use to survive out in the wild?
Yeah, they only eat ants and termites. They're very much adapted for that. They have long noses for getting in holes. They've got very long tongue. The tongue can be up to 40 centimetres long on a giant pangolin. They've got huge front claws for digging into the ground. They've got quite poor eyesight, but good smell, good ears. And probably one of the main adaptations, one is the scales, which protects them from predators. Lions can't even bite through those scales.
Well, they're that tough.
They're very tough. But also they roll into a ball, into a very tight ball, and that's actually where the name pangolin comes from. I think it comes from an old Indonesian word, trengeling, which has been translated into pangolin. So their name actually means to roll up.
It's really fascinating. And then you've already said about some of the threats that the pangolins are facing. So what are you and the team here at Chester Zoo doing out in Africa to help protect them?
Well, we've helped the Uganda Wildlife Authority learn which are the priority sites, which have got the best populations of pangolins. We're monitoring them on a daily basis to make sure we know where they are. And we're starting to do things like remove snares from the habitat to make sure that they don't get caught. And then what we're actually trying to do is build Uganda's first ever conservation action plan for pangolins, so that people right across the country, different authorities and that, know what the best way to save them is for the future.
Sounds brilliant. Thank you very much for doing that. That sounds awesome. Yeah. But it isn't just pangolins that you work on, is it?
No, I work on a number of species in Africa, from gorillas, okapi, black rhino, through to mountain bongo.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it keeps your day job very, very busy and no day the same.
Yes.
Right, but before we let you go, we have one thing that we need you to do. We need you to spin our pledge wheel to see what actions you can incorporate into your day-to-day life to help fight climate change. So when you're ready, give that a spin for us.
Okay.
Please, Stu. So we're going to recycle some of your old technology. Is there anything there that springs to mind?
Yes, mobile phones, laptops, anything that's electronic. There are a lot of species which are affected by mining in Africa, particularly. Gorillas, okapis, pangolins, chimps, all very affected by mining, which is removing these minerals from the ground. So anything you can do to recycle them, it's a big help.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Stu. What an amazing job you have here at Chester Zoo. So we've heard all about how the teams at Chester Zoo are using camera traps to help monitor and protect pangolins in Africa. And now it's time for you to have a go. Now, one of the more colourful animals that we have here in the heart of Africa are our greater flamingos, and their wetland habitats are feeling the impacts of climate change out in Africa. So we're going to show you a short film that's going to highlight some of these threats, but make sure you pay attention as there's going to be a short quiz.
With their long legs, curved necks, and striking pink feathers, flamingos are some of the most recognisable birds in the world. At Chester Zoo, we're home to Caribbean flamingos and greater flamingos. Greater flamingos are the largest and most widespread flamingo species found across Africa, Asia, and Europe. They thrive in salty wetlands like estuaries, lagoons, and mudflats. They grow to be up to 1.5 metres tall and weigh up to 4 kilograms. Their stunning, vibrant feathers come from their diet. They eat shrimp-like crustaceans rich in natural pigments that turn their feathers pink. Their webbed feet help them wade through muddy waters, searching for brine shrimp, mollusks, and small fish. Their uniquely shaped bills act like built-in sieves, allowing them to separate food from water while keeping out debris. In the wild, flamingos can live for around 30 years, but in zoos, they can live much longer. Flamingo families are a team effort. Mums and dads build nests together. The female usually lays one large egg per breeding season, which they'll take turns sitting on over the course of about a month. They live in flocks, finding safety in numbers. Each breeding season, they pair up with a new mate. Although classed as least concern by the IUCN, these birds still face threats from pollution, bacteria, and toxins in their wetland homes, often caused by fertilisers and industrial runoff. So, how can we help? Supporting conservation projects, reducing plastic waste, and making eco-friendly choices all help protect wetlands and the incredible wildlife that depends on them.
Okay, so how did you get on this time?
That was hard.
That was a tricky one. Right, so very soon we're going to be having our Q&A. So if you haven't already, make sure you ask your teachers to put your questions on the link.
So today we've been learning about Earth Day. We've been thinking about our wonderful planet and what we can all do to help.
We learned firsthand from Fraser what climate change is. We went over to meet our amazing giraffes with Keeper Holly, and we learned all about pangolins and how camera traps are helping to protect them in Africa.
Now today we've been learning about Africa, but actually species in the UK are also being affected by climate change. When the spring is colder, that means that bumblebees will struggle to set up their hive. Also, species like bats are affected by warmer winters. This means that bats come out of hibernation too early and then they can't find enough insects.
And don't forget that all of those sustainable actions that you can take right here in the UK, from taking shorter showers, walking to school, as much as you don't like doing it, and eating less meat, can all help make a difference.
Take 1 minute to talk to your partner about what sustainable actions you could take to help prevent climate change.
Okay, how was that? Hopefully you had some good discussions in your classroom.
Here are some examples of sustainable actions you could take.
Walking more.
You could get the bus rather than getting a lift.
You could eat less meat in your diet, which means more fruits and vegetables.
You could turn the heating down, so why not wear a hoodie or a jumper?
And no matter how dirty you get playing football on the playground, you need to have shorter showers. Now, all of these actions will help our animals over in Africa, but they'll also help animals all over the world.
So when we think about climate change, we tend to think about things closer to home, but actually the actions that we take here can affect species all over the globe.
And recently I was very lucky to visit one of the Earth's most remote places, and it was a very long way from the black rhinos here at Chester Zoo. So I'm currently somewhere a little bit colder than Chester and the zoo itself. Welcome to Antarctica. It's one of the most pristine, wild, untamed lands there is left on our planet. Everywhere you look, there's humpbacks, there's penguins. It's absolute marine chaos. Yes! The Antarctic is the coldest, windiest, and driest place on Earth. And even though most of it is covered in ice, it is the largest desert on our planet. It is due to its remoteness and unforgiving climate that humans are unable to live here permanently. But despite being so inhospitable to humans, it is home to some amazing wildlife. The Antarctic Peninsula is about 8,000 miles away from Chester Zoo. It is without a doubt one of the most incredible and isolated places I've ever been to. But the scary thing is, even though most parts of Antarctica are untouched by humans, our impact is still felt thousands of miles away from home, and the Antarctic Peninsula is on the front line of climate change and is warming at a rate 5 times the global average. Melting ice and warming temperatures are altering habitats, impacting wildlife like these chinstrap penguins and crab-eater seals. These crab eaters are the most numerous seal down here in Antarctica, and despite their name, they don't actually eat crabs. They have these really specialised teeth with all these grooves and ridges that enable them to filter out krill from the seawater. These lazy-looking crab-eater seals rely heavily on ice for resting and breeding, and as the ice melts, they are finding it harder and harder to find places to snooze and raise their pups. Other seals are also in trouble. As sea temperatures rise, Antarctic fur seal populations are declining, as the warmer water reduces the amount of krill they can eat. Warmer and more acidic Southern Ocean waters are also causing some penguin colonies to shrink or disappear altogether. As the populations of seals and penguins decline, Antarctica's top predator, the orca, or killer whale, will face increasing challenges in finding food. Yet, despite the very real threat of climate change in this remote and fragile region, I was still lucky enough to experience an extraordinary encounter with this remarkable predator.
Well, the Giraffe Strait has well and truly delivered. We just had an unbelievable encounter with Type B orca. They were all around the boat, and their skin is a bit of a browny colour. Now, this is due to all the diatoms, a type of algae that's in the water and sticks to their skin. My heart is absolutely pounding. What an unbelievable encounter. I've been wanting to see orca the entire time we've been down here. And on our last full day on the Antarctic Peninsula, it happened. We're heading to the South Shetlands tomorrow. So we're slowly making our way back north. But after a lot of scanning, a lot of hoping, a lot of praying to the orca gods, they turned up. And oh boy, did they turn up. And we had them everywhere. Can't quite believe what I've watched, to be honest. That was truly breathtaking, and I'm one very, very happy man.
The challenges that Antarctica faces are human problems, and therefore require human solutions that each and every one of us can be a part of to help fight climate change and protect the unique wildlife that calls the Antarctic home.
Wow, what an incredible trip. It must have been amazing to visit.
It really was. It was hands down the most beautiful, rugged, all of these words to describe it. It was a very spectacular place filled with so much wildlife. I mean, I was very lucky to get to see 3 of these guys' Antarctic cousins. So I managed to see chinstraps, gentoos and adelies. So it's just being somewhere so far away, but also still being able to see the impacts that we're having was quite a humbling experience to have.
Oh, sounds amazing. So we're getting to the point now where we're going to answer your questions. If you've not submitted them already, please follow the link on the lesson page, and Ellie will be with us in just a moment to answer those questions.
So, whilst you're thinking of your questions, let's have a quick roundup of what we've learnt today. We caught up with Fraser, who taught us about climate change and the reason why our planet is warming. We spoke to Stuart, who told us about the work Chester Zoo are doing to track and monitor giant pangolins. We met up with giraffe keeper Holly, who introduced us to Dalma and the rest of the herd and told us how giraffes are adapted to their environment, and also some of the challenges they face in the wild. And finally, we explored one of the remotest and coldest places on Earth, down in the Antarctic.
Wow, thank you, Billy and Ed. That looked fantastic. So it is now time for your questions. If you've not sent your questions in yet, though, don't worry just yet. There is still time. Just head on over to chesterzoo.org/live. So first up, we have got a question in from St. David's Primary, who have asked us, what is Chester Zoo doing to help climate change? Now here at Chester, we've got lots of things that we are doing. We've obviously got Stu and a lot of our other guys working out in all these different countries. But here in the zoo, there's lots of things we're doing too. We're using solar panels. We are using heat mass exchange pumps. We are also having our chefs in our kitchens cook lots of vegetarian and vegan options too. What else have we got coming in? Let me have a little look. We've also got questions, how heavy can a rhino be? So there are 5 different species of rhino. The smallest, being the Sumatran rhino, can weigh around 600 kilograms, but the largest, which is the white rhino, can weigh up to 3,500 kilograms. I've got another question here from Frodsham Primary Academy, who have asked, climate change can mean higher temperatures. How does the zoo take care of the animals on particularly hot days if they are not used to extreme heat? This is a really, really good question. So a lot of our animals are really good at adapting and maintaining their own body temperature. Animals, especially like our elephants and our birds, love to use dust baths. But our keepers can help out too. They can provide lots of extra water, making sure there's plenty of shade, and they even sometimes provide a little treat for our animals in the way of frozen fruit or frozen ice lollies, water ice lollies, of course. Ysgol Trefnant in North Wales have said, we've loved the live lesson, thank you. You are most welcome. What would happen to our planet if all the ice on Earth melted? Now that is a big question. If all of that ice melted, we're going to see sea levels rising hugely. And this is going to mean that all of those countries with low-lying land areas, we're going to start seeing some flooding going on, which might even mean some islands might disappear entirely. Coming from North Wales though, if you're up in those mountains, up in those hills, you might just about make it through. You might be all right up high. We've got another school coming in, Cumfellin Primary School. Is it true that Great Britain could get colder due to climate change? Another really big question there. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated. We spoke to Fraser earlier in our live lesson, and Fraser sort of told us a little bit how in the UK we don't really get the two extremes. But with climate change happening, it is likely that we're going to see more extremes. We're going to see some warmer temperatures linking to the Gulf Stream, but also with disruptions to that Gulf Stream, which brings in that warmer weather, we also are going to see colder weather coming through. If we have a look on a globe, we can see the UK is sort of on the same line with places like Canada. So we could see temperatures and weather similar to what's happening over there. Pengethley School, do giraffes make... do giraffe make something as they have a long throat? So I'm not too sure on this one. I've got a notification up on my questions. So just whilst we're getting that one sorted, I'm just going to have a look at one of our others that have come through. So I've got another one, which is how many animals do we have in Chester Zoo? So at Chester Zoo, we've got 37,000 animals. So it's a huge, huge number. And as it was sort of said here in the Heart of Africa area, we've got 57 species in that Heart of Africa area, which has been really exciting to see lots of today. Another question we've had come in, what is the longest and the tallest animal in the zoo? So the tallest animal in the zoo, we've heard lots and lots about today, is the giraffe, even catching up with one of our amazing giraffe keepers. Now, giraffe do have that very, very tall, long neck, as we mentioned, and you might have spotted I've got a little something in the room with me here. So I've got this here. Now, it's to do with the giraffe. Not sure if anyone's got any ideas what it might be, but this is a giraffe neck bone, one of their vertebrae, just like the ones that we have in the back of our neck, except a lot bigger. These guys actually have 7 of them, the exact same number that we have, except ours are only about this big, whereas our giraffes are a lot larger. So they've got 7 of these all the way up that neck, helping give them that really, really long neck. The other part of that question is our longest animal, which is going to be a reticulated python. So giraffe can get up to about 5 meters tall, and reticulated pythons around 6 meters long, so huge. I've got another question coming in from JT Brookvale. Does climate change happen in every country at the same time? This is another really big question. So climate change is happening all over the world, but it's happening in different ways to different countries. We have some countries where we might be seeing flooding, some countries we might be seeing droughts. So it is happening to all of these countries, but it's happening in different ways. Another question in from Rossmore Primary. What do you feed the animals? Well, it all depends on what the animal is. We're going to feed our giraffes things like hay, things like plants, things like branches. We're going to be feeding our tigers meat. We also have to make sure they get everything they need. So just like us, they get vitamins as well added into their diet. Animals like our penguins, which we had a little glimpse at, they're going to be eating lots and lots of fish. So again, it all depends depending on that animal, what they're going to be eating. Hopefully some familiar words coming up, whether they're an omnivore, a herbivore, or a carnivore? See if you can remember what those words mean. Oh, another big question. You guys have got some really great questions coming in today. How does the zoo keep African animals warm in cold English weather, especially when it snows? That's from Egremont Primary, from Year 5. So hello, Year 5. This is a really big question, especially when it snows. A lot of these animals aren't going to be used to snow. Animals like giraffe, they have their indoor area that they can stay tucked inside. So giraffe are one of those animals we've got to be really, really careful of. With those long legs, we don't want them slipping and sliding. But it's making sure that their houses are heated, that they're nice and warm. We've not got those drafts coming in. With animals like our lions, it's making sure we've got things like heated rocks, that they've got that they can keep that warmth in. And again, making sure their indoor areas are nice and toasty too. Oh, there we go. Pengethley School, we'll give it another go. Do giraffe make sounds as they have a long throat? This is a really, really interesting question, and it's something that a lot of scientists have done lots of research on. They do have all their vocal cords all the way down that throat, but we're a little unsure exactly what noises they do make. We know they can make some grunts. We know they can make some sort of short bark sounds, but we're not sure how much of this is around that communication. There is also lots of sounds that as humans we can't hear, sounds that are too low, or with some animals, sounds that are too high for us to be able to hear. Plus Derwin, do you think humans have lost their connection with nature? Now, this is a really, really good question. Now, we know through lots of research that humans have started to lose their connection with nature. And this is a really important thing that we do have, and we keep that connection. There's lots of things we can do to connect ourselves and reconnect ourselves back with wildlife, back with nature. Just getting outside, making sure we're taking in everything. We're looking at what we can see, we're seeing what smells we can find. We're touching the plants, feeling all those different textures. But also taking time to sort of sit and enjoy and think about how is it making us feel? How are we feeling when we're out in nature, when we're hearing the birds, when we can see the butterflies, when we can smell the flowers? You can even do this today. We've got some lovely weather today. And you can get outside in your lunch or in your break, go and see how many butterflies you can maybe count. Go see how many colours you can see, how many flowers you can smell in those areas. But those are some fantastic questions. Lots and lots of questions. I've got one last one very quickly. What are your top tips to help schools and homes become more sustainable? Well, there's lots of things that we've already talked about through our live lesson today. But things like looking at turning off our lights, making sure our heating is down, talking to our canteen, asking to see if we can get more vegetarian meals, some meatless meals as we go through the week. Doing things like walking to school as well. But that is going to have us finishing up. I am going to hand back over to Billy and Ed, and that's going to be a farewell from me. So bye guys, thank you so much.
Right then, those were some great questions.
So we've got some amazing free resources for you to download if you click the link that's in the workshop page for today.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for celebrating Earth Day, and we have plenty more of these sessions coming up.
If you've enjoyed learning about Heart of Africa today, then why not join us for one of our exciting curriculum-linked workshops here at the zoo? Or if you're a bit far away from Chester Zoo, you could book one of our virtual workshops. So it just remains for us to say thank you to everyone involved in today's live lesson. Thank you to Holly and the Giraffe team, to Ellie and Stuart and Fraser, and to you for watching today. And also thank you, Billy, for your part.
Thank you very much for having me, Ed, and how can we not forget yourself and Sanyu the Pangolin as well?
Oh, definitely, Sanyu. And where can we watch more of your stuff?
So if you'd like to see about the adventures that I've been having, you can join me on Instagram and on TikTok at Billy_Heaney. So thank you very much again for all of your time today, and we can't wait to see you at our next live lesson on June the 23rd for World Rainforest Day. Thank you very much, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Cheers.